All right, folks, and this is number 2 in our video series on TableView School. We're going to go through the solution on setting up our TableView using PartyPlanner data. Now remember our first steps for setting up the user interface, adding the TableView, the cell, setting the style, setting the identifier, and creating the outlet. So we'll set up our project with File, New, Project, Single View, PartyPlanner, save it to the desktop, main storyboard, add our table view, constrain it, add our table view cell. I'll just click on prototype cells this time, but I'm going to have to go back to click on cells anyway, because inside the cell we need to set the identifier. Capital CELL is what we normally do. And I'm also going to set the style to basic. Actually, this one we want the style to be subtitle. Now we need to create an IB outlet for the table view, not the cell. So I'll control drag over, call it table view lower camel case, and our user interface is all set. Now remember our steps for code. Do we need frameworks? Nope, we need delegate and data source. So if you remember those, we're in good shape. We got to set up our protocol. We also need delegate and data source table view protocols as well. That will give us the methods that we need. Let's build. Now before we do any of this, let's set up our data source here. So I'm going to create a new variable called PartyPlanner. And I'll set this equal to values that were at that URL that I gave in the previous slide. That's a bit.ly/partyplanner data, capitalizing all of the first letters, no spaces in between. Here are all the items we wanted our Swifty party. I'll copy this, paste it in, Command-A, Control-I to fix the formatting. Now that we've got this, remember, delegate and data source. So when view did load, table view dot delegate equals self. Table view dot data source equals self. That means the table view in iOS is going to need to send messages. Who should respond to the messages? Self means this view controller. That's where you're going to have the functions to respond to the messages the table view will send automatically. iOS does most of the stuff in table view, but when it needs it, this view controller, the self for this class, is going to get things done. Now, in order for this to work, we've got to adopt a protocol. We could do it up here, but instead we're going to do it in an extension. It's nice to organize your code that way. So we'll say extension view controller is the name of this class, so that's why we use view controller in here, colon, remember, table view delegate, table view data source. So if I start to type in table view delegate, Swift will offer to write UI table view delegate, table view data source, Swift will write UI table view data source. I'll put in the curlies. Xcode will think for a moment. It will say, hey, if you adopt these protocols, these rules to using table views, then you need to have some functions in here. Do you want me to write the stubs? Xcode, stub me. So there are the stubs. What do we return here for the number of rows in section? An int, which is just the count of the number of rows in section. So we'll say return. Whoop, we didn't want to call these party planners. Sorry about that. We should have called them party items. So let's return down here party items dot count. And then over here, when we set things up, remember, first we create the cell. The other thing to remember is when you create the cell, you want DQ reusable cell. So if you remember DQ, select the one with the identifier and the index path. The identifier is the CELL that we had put in for the cell back in main storyboard. In our attributes inspector, here it is. I'm going to copy it right now just to make sure that I spell it exactly the same way. Paste that in there in double quotes. The index path is this index path up here, lower camel case. I could just paste that right in. Then I return the cell. No change from what I previously wrote, but in between here is when we configure the cell. So we type in cell, the cell that we just created, dot, and now what we want to do is we want to grab the text label and refer to its .text property. Now, Xcode is going to grumble if we don't put a question mark in there. After time, you're going to remember to put the question mark in there automatically. Then what do we want to put inside the text label .text? And again, the text label is this one right here that has title in it. Well, we want to put in party items at index path .row. Now, if we build and run, we see all of our party items. We don't see anything in here on the subtitle. So let's offer another challenge to fix that up. Create a struct named PartyPlanner list item. Add two properties, a string named item and a string named person responsible. Create a variable named PartyPlanner list in viewcontroller.swift to hold an empty array of PartyPlanner list item. Use the array party items to populate the array PartyPlanner list. And do this in View.load by adding an element of party items to the item property of PartyPlanner list and an empty string to the person responsible property of PartyPlanner list. Then update all the code in viewcontroller.swift so that it now works with PartyPlanner list instead of party items. Pause. Give it a shot. Let's see how you did. So I'm going to create this new struct inside of this class, and I'll show you why that's not a good place for this class. But for now, we'll just say struct PartyPlanner list item, and it's got two variables inside, var item, which is a string, and var person responsible, which is a string. Now we want to create an array of this struct, and this is what we're going to change our data source to. So we'll say var PartyPlanner list is going to be an array of PartyPlanner item, and it's going to start out as an empty array. Now we need to populate this array. It's got nothing in it. So what we're going to do in View.load is we're going to loop through all of the elements in this party items array. We're going to take this value out, we're going to put it inside of the item string, and we're going to set the person responsible to empty string. Now, normally when we write an app like this, we wouldn't be hard coding all of the party items that we're going to bring to our party, but we're doing this so that we've got some items to work with. So this first step is just going to populate all of the different party items in this element of the array. We'll have nobody responsible for them initially, and you can assign your friends to those later on. So what we want to do in order to set things up is we need to loop through all of the elements in party items. So we can say for party item in party items, and again, this is our array of strings. And what we want to do is create a new party list item. So you can say let party list item equals capital PartyPlanner list item, open parens, and because this is a struct and we haven't assigned any values to them, we get an initializer in here that's asking us to go ahead and assign a value for item and person responsible. So for the item, what we're going to do is to take the party item, this element in the array that we're going through, and for person responsible, we'll pass in an empty string. And then once we've got this set up, we can simply say, PartyPlanner list, which is a list of PartyPlanner list items, which is the value that we created right here, dot append to add this element that we created to our list. From here on out, we shouldn't have to refer to party items. We should just refer to the PartyPlanner list. And so now, let's change our TableView code. because we've got a new data source. We're no longer dealing with this array of strings. We're going to deal with this array of PartyPlanner list items. So we'll go down in here and we'll get PartyPlanner list count. And then to set up our text label.text in here, we want to go into PartyPlanner list. Now remember, this is going to return, if we option click on top of it, an element in PartyPlanner list. What we want to put in here is a string. And specifically, we want to put in the element in this list that refers to the item. So again, this gets us a list element that has these two properties. And so after we have our index in brackets, we refer to dot item. Now what do we want to have for our detail label? And the detail text label is this guy in here. Subtitle, we're going to put in an empty string. Now there's a bit of a quirk in the way the subtitle works. If we don't have anything in the subtitle, if it's an empty string, then the title will fill in the whole cell here. But once we add a value for subtitle that isn't an empty string, you'll see there will be two lines. So don't get distressed if you don't see a blank for subtitle in here right away. That will change in our future exercise. So back over here in our view controller, we'll say $.text equals, and we're going to take PartyPlanner at indexPath.row, and we're going to pass in person responsible. Now let's build and run. And here we've got our list. Now again, you might be saying, hey, how come I'm not showing anything for subtitle? We'll fix that in just a bit. But now I'm going to close up PartyPlanner. I'm going to go back, stop tasks. I'm going to go back to our student list, and we'll work through our next learning exercise.